According to Britannica, aesthetics, the philosophical study of beauty and taste, is closely related to the philosophy of art, which is concerned with the nature of art and the concepts in terms of which individual works of arts are interpreted and evaluated. Aesthetics is an area of philosophy concerned with art and beauty. Some separate aesthetics and philosophy of arts, claiming the former is the study of beauty, while the latter is the study of works of arts. This does not only deal with the nature and value of arts, but also with those responses to natural objects that find expression in the language of the beautiful and the ugly. Beautiful and ugly seem too vague in their application, and too subjective in their meaning to divide the world successfully into those things that do and those that do not exemplify them. So there are three approaches to aesthetics. The first one is the language of criticism, in which particular judgments are singled out and their logic and justification are displayed. In Edmund Burke's famous treatise on the Sublime and Beautiful in 1757, he attempted to draw a distinction between two aesthetics concepts, and by studying the qualities that they denoted, to analyze the separate human attitudes that are directed toward them. Second, a philosophical study of certain states of mind, responses, attitudes, emotions that are held to be involved in aesthetic experience. In the Critique of Judgment, Immanuel Kant located the distinctive features of aesthetics in the faculty of judgment, whereby we take up a certain stance toward object, separating them from our scientific interest and our practical concerns. The third and the last, the philosophical study of the aesthetic object. This approach reflects the view that the problem of aesthetics exists primarily because the world contains a special class of objects toward which we react selectively and which we describe in aesthetic terms. We all know this famous adage, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Aesthetics are in all our senses, not just in sight. Aesthetic design is a 4D experience. So there are four important categories or components of aesthetics which we can make or break the aesthetics of our designs. The first one is vision. The most dominant sense in majority of people is our sight. We cannot stop ourselves to look at what we find beautiful. This is the power of visual aesthetics. So the key elements of visual aesthetics are color, shape, pattern, line, texture, visual weight, balance, scale, proximity, and movement. Using these elements well will help us achieve good visual aesthetics. So the next category is hearing. Our ears can perceive a whole another level of aesthetic design. The ability to hear how your car engine works, how the digital product notifies you of new messages, to listen to music, etc. This is the power of sound aesthetics. So the key elements of sound aesthetics are loudness, pitch, beat, repetition, melody, pattern, and noise. Using them well will create enjoyable music for our users. Third is touch. Skin is the largest organ in the human body. It also helps us experience aesthetics. Material aesthetics are especially important for physical products. Can you still remember when you were buying clothes? The key elements of material aesthetics are texture, shape, weight, comfort, temperature, vibration, and sharpness. By mastering them, we can make our customers adore our products. So the fourth and the last is taste and smell. Taste and smell are senses that help us experience aesthetics even more deeply, especially in the food industry and different environment designs. These senses play an important role in experiencing aesthetics. The key elements are strength, sweetness, sourness, and texture for taste. Use these elements when possible to enhance the full picture so our users can feel the aesthetics even deeper. But why does aesthetic design matter? People expect usability by default and are seeking products that are more than functional and usable. We want to experience pleasure to stimulate our senses. Aesthetic design is crucial to satisfy these needs. It influences our decisions and emotions and affects our long-term attitudes about products and even people. So there are four designs for aesthetic pleasures: psychical pleasure, social pleasure, psychological pleasure, and ideological pleasure. Psychical pleasure is a pleasure derived mostly from touch, smell, and taste. Social pleasure is pleasure derived from interacting with other people. Psychological pleasure is a pleasure derived from completing a task or feeling in control and safe. This context is very tightly related to the usability of product, but it can also be related to how the product design looks. Last is ideological pleasure. This context is mostly about abstract pleasure. I like to think of it as the glue that binds the other pleasure types. It is the meaning of the words in the books, not the colors, font sizes, and the page layouts. So let's dig deeper to know more about aesthetics. What does art tell us about ourselves? What does it do to us, and what purpose does art serve in our lives? You know who was super anti-art? Plato. He believed that art plays to our emotion rather than to our reason. And, recalling his idea of the tripartite soul, he thought that the rational part of the soul should always be in charge. So art was problematic for him because it encourages us to think with the spirited or emotional part of our souls. And for a guy who was as concerned with the truth as he was, you can see why this might have been a problem. In the 20th century, British philosopher R.G. Collingwood acknowledged that art is frequently used as an escape from life, a simple amusement, a distraction. But he also said that the best art, the art that really matters, is the stuff that changes the way we interact with the world. So Collingwood drew a distinction between what he called amusement art and magic art. And when we do not or cannot experience the full range of emotions in our actual lives, art can step in and do the job for us. Why is art so good at making us feel? When do you think about it, it is weird that we get so emotionally invested in characters that we know to be fictional. Why do we cry real tears over the deaths of our beloved characters? These questions fall under another problem that art poses for us, one that aestheticians call the paradox of fiction. Many scientists and philosophers have discussed the role of beauty in science, in particular when judging competing theories in physics. Glenn Parsons reviewed these arguments and looks at the role of aesthetics in chemistry and biology, in the representation of molecular structure, and in the form of function of molecules. He cites Francis Crick's calling DNA the molecule which has a style, for the simplicity and elegance of how the structural form of the double helix reflected the replicative function of the molecule. For many science lovers, the aesthetic value of DNA lies in the modernist design maxim, form follows function. But in his review, Aesthetics in Synthesis and Synthetic Biology, Stephen Benner argues that DNA, like other products of natural selection, is more of a hack than a perfected form. To have properly designed DNA, Benner argues for a modified set of 12 bases with improved symmetry and utility. To philosophers of aesthetics like Glenn Parsons, however, utility and function are not necessarily part of aesthetic value of an object or a work of art. And he argues that the molecular delights that a chemist sees are not always in the realm of aesthetic per se. Despite these technical and philosophical arguments, there can be aesthetic pleasure in the experimental design and molecular representation that advance our understanding that let us see the invisible from the first X-ray crystallography image of DNA 60 years ago to the first electron microscope photograph of DNA published today. Structural biologists and crystallographers use drawings and computer renderings as well as physical models and more recently immersive 3D virtual environments to explore protein structures. Interestingly, the errors and mistakes of evolution, the hacks that diminish the aesthetic value of biology for some of the other contributors to the issue become a crucial part of the aesthetic and subjective definition of life for the proto-science engineer. Scientific objectivity depends on the tools that can interface between the human senses and the object of study. The machines that can translate the natural world into the visualizations, models, and datasets that we experience, aestheticize, and interpret. An exploration of aesthetic and sensual in science and technology exposes the beautiful fuzzy edges of scientific practice. We can add many layers in between human subjectivity and scientific objects. Creative activities can relieve stress, aid communication, and help arrest cognitive decline. Decades of research have demonstrated that in people with dementia and other progressive neurological diseases, the ability to create art remains long after speech and language have diminished. Research has also shown that creating visual art can reduce stress and promote relaxation in people who are hospitalized or homebound due to illness. Art has also an important role in helping people through particularly difficult times, including facing the end of life. Working with a trained art therapist can give them a way to express themselves in a safe environment to help them get the next stage more at peace. The idea that creative expression can make a powerful contribution to the healing process has been embraced in many different cultures. Throughout recorded history, people have used pictures, stories, dances, and chants as healing rituals. So in visual arts, art helps people express experiences that are too difficult to put into words, such as a diagnosis of cancer. Some people with cancer explore the meaning of past, present, and future during art therapy, thereby integrating cancer into their life story and giving it meaning. So next is movement-based creative expression. A growing interest in dance and movement has accompanied recognition of the mind and body benefits of motor activity. Movement-based creative expression focuses on nonverbal, primarily physical, form of expression as psychotherapeutic or healing tools. Through the movement of the mind and the body in a creative way, stress and anxiety can be relieved and other health benefits can be achieved as well. On the other hand, expressive writing is also beneficial. Studies have shown that individuals who have written about their own traumatic experiences exhibit significant improvements in various measures of physical health, reductions in visits to physicians, and better immune system functioning. Writing increases health and wellness in various ways. So next is music engagement. Music is the most accessible and most researched medium of art and healing, and there has been a principal emphasis on the soothing capacity of music and its ability to offset overly technological approaches to care. So there are 9 highlighted health benefits of music. First is, it is heart healthy. Research has shown that blood flows more easily when music is played. It can also reduce heart rate, lower blood pressure, decrease cortisol levels, and increase serotonin and endorphin levels in the blood. Second, it elevates mood. Music can help boost the brain's production of the hormones dopamine. This increased dopamine production helps relieve feelings of anxiety and depression. Music is processed directly by the amygdala, which is the part of the brain involved in moods and emotions. Third, it reduces stress. Research has found that listening to music can relieve stress by triggering biochemical stress reducers. Fourth, it relieves symptoms of depression. When you're feeling down in the dumps, music can help pick you up much like exercise. Fifth, it stimulates memories. There is no cure for Alzheimer's disease or dementia, but music therapy has been shown to relieve some of its symptoms. Music therapy can relax an agitated patient, improve the mood, and open communication in patients. Sixth, it manages pain. By reducing stress levels and providing a strong competing stimulus to the pain signals that enter the brain, Music therapy can assist in pain management. Seventh, it eases pain. Music can meaningfully reduce the perceived intensity of pain. Next, it helps people eat less. Playing soft music in the background during a meal can help people slow down while eating and ultimately consume less food in one sitting. And lastly, it increases workout endurance. Listening to those top workout tracks can boost physical performance and increase endurance during a tough exercise session. Art is often designed to change our beliefs and our values. And most of us agree that this can be a good thing. We often give artists credits for amazing works of arts that inspire the positive change in the world. Art influences society by changing opinions, instilling values, and translating experiences across time and space. Research has shown art affects the fundamental sense of self. Painting, sculpture, music, literature, and other arts are often considered to be the repository of the society's collective memory. Art preserves what fact-based historical records cannot: how it felt to exist in a particular place at a particular time.
We will now discuss some technological developments in aesthetics. First one on our list is the aesthetic lasers used in laser treatment. The word laser is an acronym or an abbreviation which stands for Light Amplification by Stimulated Emission of Radiation, or LASER. In simpler terms, a laser is a single wavelength or one color of light source of high energy light which can be accurately focused to transmit that light onto a very small area. There are two basic types of lasers used for cosmetic purposes: ablative and non-ablative. Ablative lasers actually vaporize the top layers of damaged skin, while non-ablative lasers work deeper into the skin without removing or otherwise damaging the top layers. For this reason, there is no real patient downtime associated with the cosmetic procedures that employ solely non-ablative laser technology. Here's how aesthetic lasers work. Lasers are monochromatic, which means that a given laser emits light of only one wavelength or color of light. Lasers work in cosmetic applications through a process called selective photothermolysis. When broken down, this very fancy word means that it modulates the frequency of light, photo, to produce heat, thermo, in a specific area of the corresponding thing you wish to destroy, lysis. To do this, the wavelength of the light beam must be in sync with the color of the target which is to be addressed, whether that be brown spots, unsightly red broken capillaries, or some other undesirable skin condition. The main differences between the types of lasers have to do with wavelength. In other words, different laser wavelengths or colors of light target different skin issues. Therefore, a variety of lasers are needed to treat a variety of skin concerns. Two of the most common types of aesthetic lasers are CO2 lasers and NdYAG lasers. CO2 laser or carbon dioxide laser uses very short pulsed light energy known as ultrapulse or continuous light beams to remove thin layers of skin. This type of laser is commonly used to treat wrinkles, scars, warts, enlarged oil glands on the nose, and other conditions. The CO2 laser is also commonly used for the removal of skin tags and for cutting skin in laser-assisted surgery. The second example is the NdYAG, or neodymium doped yttrium aluminum garnet laser. An NdYAG laser is a solid-state laser capable of producing a near-infrared wavelength that penetrates deep into the skin. The laser's energy is selectively absorbed by the deeper levels of the dermis and is delivered using long pulses which are converted into heat in the tissue. It can treat both deep and superficial conditions, which include treating vascular lesions like broken blood vessels on the face, unsightly spider veins on the legs, spider nevi, and hemangiomas. It is also used for removing certain birthmarks, hair, and tattoo, as well as treating pigmented lesions such as sunspots, age spots, melasma, and other forms of hyperpigmentation. The second major advancement of science in aesthetics is aesthetic medicine. Aesthetic medicine comprises all medical procedures that are aimed at improving the physical appearance and satisfaction of the patient using non-invasive to minimally invasive cosmetic procedures. The aesthetic medicine specialty is not confined to dermatologists and plastic surgeons, as doctors of all specialties seek to offer services to address their patients' aesthetic needs and desires. Some aesthetic medicine procedures are performed under local anesthesia, while some procedures don't require anesthetics at all. Aesthetic procedures consist of the following: injections of neurotoxins and dermal fillers, chemical peels, cosmetic dermatology treatments, microdermabrasion, body contouring and treatment of cellulite, nutrition, hair transplant, hair reduction, fat grafting, laser and IPL, scar management, venous treatment, and cosmetic gynecology. Our third major advancement is the use of neurotoxins in facial aesthetics. Neurotoxins, also known as Botox, Dysport, and Xeomin, are injectable solutions that temporarily block nerve receptors in the muscle, preventing lines and wrinkles from forming. They can be used to treat muscle stiffness, muscle spasms, excessive sweating, and overactive bladder. In aesthetics, neurotoxins are used to target underlying causes of fine lines on the face, like the repeated muscle contractions from frowning and squinting. Dermatologists inject the muscles with the neurotoxins to essentially pause muscle activity. It works in the neuromuscular junction, causing paralysis of the muscles in that area and smoothing of the overlying skin. The temporary absence of contracting facial muscles will cause fine lines to be reduced or removed as the skin naturally renews itself. Neurotoxins are also used to treat cervical dystonia, migraines, and blepharospasms or uncontrolled twitching of the eyelid. The fourth major science advancement in aesthetics is the developments in minimally invasive technology. During a minimally invasive surgery, one or more incisions may be made in the body. Tiny surgical instruments are inserted through other openings to do the surgery. Because of technology, doctors can now perform keyhole surgeries, and the most advanced procedure involves the use of robotic assistance. In robotic minimally invasive surgeries, advanced robotic systems give doctors greater control and vision during surgery, allowing them to perform safe, less invasive, and precise surgical procedures. During robotic-assisted surgeries, surgeons operate from a console equipped with two master controllers that maneuver four robotic arms. By viewing a high-definition 3D image on the console, the surgeon is able to see surgical procedures better than ever before. Computer software takes the place of actual hand movements and can make movements very precise. Advanced minimally invasive surgeries have many benefits. These surgeries have less operative trauma, other complications, and adverse effects than an equivalent open surgery. It may be more or less expensive, and operative time is longer, but hospitalization time is definitely shorter. It causes less pain, less blood loss, and scarring due to smaller incisions. It has a lower risk of infection, speeds recovery, and reduces the incidence of post-surgical complications such as adhesions and wound rupture. There are also risks in this type of procedure. Risks and complications of minimally invasive procedures are the same as for any other surgical operation. Among the risks are death, bleeding, infection, and organ injury. There may also be an increased risk of hypothermia and peritoneal trauma due to increased exposure to cold, dry gases during insufflation. Other than minimally invasive technology, there are also a number of developments in the non-invasive technology used in aesthetics. A medical procedure is defined as non-invasive when no break in the skin is created and there is no contact with the mucosa or skin break or internal body cavity beyond a natural or artificial body orifice. Some developments of non-invasive technology in aesthetics are the following. First is InMode Body FX. It is a non-invasive body contouring and cellulite treatment which is designed to reduce the appearance of bumps and reshape the body's contours. Using different clinically proven modalities, including radiofrequency energy, deep tissue heating, and suction, it distributes heat to the skin and underlying fat, causing the tissues to heat and contract. Next is InMode Fractora. Fractora skin treatment is a fractional rejuvenation and resurfacing treatment that reduces wrinkles to slow the effects of aging and restores skin to its youthful appearance. Next to that, we have CoolTech technology. CoolTech is another example of advanced technology that is highly effective in targeting localized fat reduction. And lastly, we have Ultherapy. Ultherapy uses micro-focused ultrasound to deliver energy below the skin's surface that targets the foundational layers of the skin. Our last two technological advancements involve the aesthetics of arts and music, and the involvement of science and technology in its development. Technology has made its way to influence art therapy. Because of this, digital art therapy was developed. Digital art therapy is a relative newcomer to art therapy methods and materials that can be defined as all forms of technology-based media, including digital collage, illustrations, films, and photography that are used by therapists to assist clients in creating art as part of the process of therapy. It involves any activities that use computer keyboards and screens or other technological devices for image making within the context of treatment. Technologies used include but are not limited to these currently popular forms: apps and various forms of image creation and film editing software, animation, gaming, virtual reality or VR and participatory environments, tablet technology, light painting, artificial intelligence, and digital storytelling, as well as other technomedia. We now move on to the use of technology in music therapy. In music therapy, multiple devices are employed. Galvanic skin response, or GSR, respiration, and blood pressure have been utilized in the monitoring of reactions to music and music therapy. In biofeedback research, a machine measures physiological responses and uses the feedback to change how the individual's body reacts. In this kind of research, music therapists are making use of computerized axial tomography or CAT scan, positron emission tomography PET scan, magnetic response imagery MRI, functional magnetic response imagery fMRI, electroencephalogram EEG, and most interestingly, electromyography EMG. EMG is helpful in rhythmic auditory stimulation research as it measures activity in the muscles. It is utilized to train patients suffering from gait disturbances such as stroke patients and Parkinson's disease patients. So far, we have discussed the technological advancements in aesthetics and their benefits and applications. Now we will mention some of the risks and major issues in aesthetic technology. In aesthetic lasers, patients may develop certain side effects which may lead to more serious conditions if untreated properly. Small blistering occurs particularly with the use of atrium aluminum garnet or YAG and Q-switch lasers. This is due to the insufficient cooling or failure of the cooling system, which can result in burns of various severities. Acute inflammatory skin reaction is an expected sequela following laser treatment, which manifests in the form of bruising, erythema, and edema. Other risks may also include infection and herpetic eruption, acne and milia, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, differences in skin texture, scarring, and hypertrophic healing caused by excessive thermal injury or poor healing capacity. Additionally, risks associated with neurotoxin injections are generalized effects and allergic reactions such as post-injection headaches and severe migraine-type headaches. It may also result in brow ptosis and mid-upper and lower face laterogenic paralysis. Another major issue in aesthetics is the risk of getting botched treatments. A plastic surgery or procedure is generally considered to be botched if first, the cosmetic result is dramatically different than the patient expected and/or was told to expect. Second, the patient suffers new medical issues that they would not have experienced without the surgery. This can range from persistent and excessive nasal drainage following a rhinoplasty or nose job, for example, a foreign object being left in the patient's body, or the patient developing an infection that either could have been avoided or should have been detected at a follow-up appointment that leads to sepsis, a very serious infection that can result in the malfunctioning of various organs, shock, or even death. Indeed, technology in aesthetics has improved a lot in terms of effectiveness and efficiency. It allows us to overcome the limitations of our body and modify it according to our preferences. However, we must keep in mind that technology requires sufficient scientific knowledge to be maximized. Lack of proper knowledge in utilizing technology can potentially harm us and may cause permanent damage. In today's world in which science and technology deeply permeate all areas of society, it is impossible to engage in any activity that is not somehow linked to these disciplines. If we take a look back in the past centuries, the vast range of changes that has happened and continues to happen in modern society is clearly seen globally. These kinds of changes involve advancement of the healthcare system and services that is the result of the innovation in technology. As the world population grows day by day, the importance of health, wellness, and aesthetics are considered to be one of the top priorities in this modern society. Indeed, science and technology have shaped the way we live in a society. We have had it easy thanks to the great minds behind all the past inventions and knowledge that are now accessible in our time. Therefore, we owe it to them to continue to use science, innovate technologies, and discover new information for better understanding and livelihood in our society.